Welcome to Radiant Health. This is the fourth part in a 5-part series exploring Baba's Life of the Spirit discourse on the place of our body, like how to work with our body and all of what Baba has guided us on and how to be in our bodies, our precious, precious bodies. And we're going to start tonight. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from Life of the Spirit. And I invite you to let Baba's words, as you know, just enter your being and illuminate your consciousness and share that illumination as you receive it. That radiant health. From the last session, we talked about being a Baba center personified, radiating his eternal message of love divine. So in this moment specifically, and in every moment, we will dedicate our experience to that, to radiating Baba's message of love divine, to being a Baba center personified. And perhaps that's why it has been difficult to get onto the center. He wants us to be centers. So here, just let this come into you from Baba. The value of material things depends on the part they play in the life of the spirit. In themselves, they are neither good nor bad. They become good or bad according to whether they help or hinder the manifestation of divinity through them. Take, for example, the place of the physical body in the life of the spirit. It is a mistake to set up an antithesis between flesh and spirit. Such contrast almost inevitably ends in unqualified condemnation of the body. The body obstructs spiritual fulfillment only if it is pampered as having claims in its own right. Its proper function is rightly understood as ancillary to spiritual purposes. The rider needs a horse if he is to fight a battle, though the horse can become an impediment if it refuses to be completely submissive to his will. In the same way, the spirit needs to be clothed in matter if it is to become into full possession of its own possibilities. I'm going to read that again. In the same way, the spirit needs to be clothed in matter if it is to come into full possession of its own possibilities. Although the body can at times become a hindrance if it refuses to be compliant with the requirements of the spirit. If the body yields to the claims of the spirit as it should, it is instrumental in bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth. If a body yields to the claims of the spirit as it should, it is instrumental in bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth. It becomes a vehicle for the release of divine life. And when it subserves this purpose, it might aptly be called the temple of God on earth. So as you're breathing into your temple of God, the breath, Baba says he's nearer to us than our own breath. But in this moment, we have our breath too, to take in full belly breaths, like 360 degrees belly breaths. Hello, those that are joining into this temple of God, into this precious human form. We've spoken about at other meetings that when I think of the body, I think of the line from the Australian arty when we ask Baba to accept this as you would a simple flower that has no use beyond the shining hour. And I think of our bodies in this incarnation as this flower that when our incarnation is done, it will have no use beyond it, but to give our bodies to Baba, give our bodies to the claims of our spirit, give our bodies to this amazing purpose that Baba says, to literally be able to bring down the kingdom of heaven on earth. So I'm going to invite you to unmute. I'm going to see if I can unmute all. I don't know if I know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. But I'd like you to share, I invite you to share, if you would like, what that means to you, what was just read, what bounced out to you in that reading of the life of the spirit about the body, and to be, if you would please share that. Bless you, Susan.
Being the vehicle for divine descent of the divinity into our body. That's where it can manifest itself.
And I thought of you, Farishte, with the drawing that you showed us. That creativity, that ability to do that through your body. When you showed that to me, and when I was reading that, the flash of that picture came to me as bringing the kingdom of heaven down onto earth. Do you have it near you to show everybody?
It's work in progress.
So
wonderful.
beautiful.
I love it. And I just feel that expression.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Eloise.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been
wonderful
a
people.
fabulous journey, just doing a lot of his faces. You know, there's so many to choose from, and they're all wonderful to try to render his beauty.
I remember
presence.
reading somewhere, yes, his presence, and about how instrumental art is to the bringing of his advent, the creativity, the artistic expression. I don't have that quote off the top of my head, but I remember that.
Yeah, especially he said the art is in the West is he said it so eloquently. I'm terrible Baba quoter. But something about art being the vehicle for spirit, connecting with spiritual life.
I think it was something like that. It was like yoga is to the West or something.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
The reading makes me, it's reassuring that there doesn't need to be any conflict between body and spirit, but it's the spirit that needs to do the guiding, and the trick is to knowing which impulse comes from spirit and which impulses not come from spirit but from the body. And I think that takes discernment, that takes pausing, and I think we can tell the difference, but at least personally, I need to pause to ask myself, is that impulse coming from my body and not the spirit, or is it really spirit inspired, that impulse?
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And that's what I felt for this evening too, is a living prayer or a living infusion from Baba to help us purify those, to know the differences between the impulses that come from the spirit or the lower desires. Like this whole evening being an occasion to release some of the veils that are between those for us, and then radiate that, being that Baba Center personified, radiating that to the world.
What I would share, having, a reasonably profound experience in my body these days, is that I find a depth of reverence in the kind of intense connecting with the sensations. And that to me feels very spiritual. I mean, as horrendous as it's been at times, that the coming through it is a revelation.
My
Would
mind
anyone
doesn't
else like to?
my mind doesn't hold on to the words so much. So I don't know. It was the words that came right before, like with the metaphor of the horse, that it's like we need a horse to go into, and the use of the body for that. So that's what stood out to me, that part.
I'll read that again because it's a pretty profound part. The rider needs a horse if he is to fight a battle, though the horse can become an impediment if it refuses to be completely submissive to his will. In the same way, the spirit needs to be clothed in matter if it is to come into full possession of its own possibilities. And that line, to come into full possession of its possibilities. And then it goes on to say, although the body can at times become a hindrance if it refuses to be compliant with the requirements of the spirit.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I heard this story about Krishna this week. And I don't know who told me this story, but it reminds me of that because it was this story where Krishna was getting ready and he put on a crown, and he said that he was going out, and I saw this picture today with birds with crowns on them, like someone had painted this picture, and it's kind of like Bob like always does something like funny like this when he's like speaking. But anyway, when he was in the form of the advent of Krishna, he had this crown. He was I don't know who came up to him and said, what are you doing, Krishna? And he says, well, I'm going to see so and so. And he says, so I have to look beautiful, like he was like, I have to adorn myself with this crown. And he said, why? Like, you're going to this king. Why are you going to the king? You are the king of kings. And he says, yes, but he won't recognize my inside. So I have to show him my outside, on the outside, what's on my inside. And I was just thinking like about this, like adorning, like it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like, sometimes like, we have to like have these things on the outside that like display like the beauty. Like I think that's what Baba is meaning in that like text. It was just an interesting story, and it's so funny.
Well, that's from that quote that Baba says from the Divine Game that do I have it here? No, I don't have it here. But the only thing that matters, that has any inherent value is revealing in this world of forms, which like this is a form, revealing in this world of forms, truth, purity, beauty, and love. Anything else can have no lasting value. And so what beauty means in truth, and the purity, like tonight, I was saying to David, with David, first day we're on earlier, but this was the first session where I had little inkling of what tonight was going to be about at all. Like I was like, no, you have no business thinking about this beforehand. And I just like, okay. And then right at the 11th hour, Baba said, open up Discourses. And I did, because I kept thinking of the phrase, like, what are the claims of my spirit? Like, I would like my body to yield to the claims of my spirit. But as David was saying, to know what that is can be something. And I can go through all the general attributes, the claims of my spirit would have to be generosity of spirit, compassion, unconditional love, cheerfulness, enthusiasm. I'm all the things that Baba talks about. But this is what I opened to. I opened to the chapter in Discourses on selfishness. And this is what popped out at me. And I think it relates to Krishna adorning himself, and to Farishday's art, and to Susan's beautiful internal reconstruction that's happening as well, and to us all. So Baba's talking here about spirituality is a positive attitude towards life. And so Baba says, renunciation of desires does not mean asceticism or a merely negative attitude towards life. Any such negation of life would make man inhuman. Divinity is not devoid of humanity. spirituality must make man more human. It is a positive attitude of releasing all that is good, noble, and beautiful in man. It also contributes to all that is gracious and lovely in the environment. Spirituality does not require the external renunciation of worldly activities or the avoiding of worldly duties and responsibilities. It only requires that while performing these worldly duties or discharging the responsibilities arising from the specific place and position of the individual, the inner spirit should remain free from the burden of desires. Perfection consists in remaining free from the entanglement of duality. Such freedom from entanglements is the most essential requirement of unhindered creativity. Such freedom from entanglements is the most essential requirement of unhindered creativity.
Now that freedom from entanglements, freedom from attachments and desires is easier said than done. I think we need to call on Baba to help us often.
How about likes and dislikes? You know, we tend to divide the world in two, the things we like and the things we don't like.
And what I love about this is this, it hinders our creativity, our creative expression. When we get stuck in wanting things the way we want them, you know, or the way we want it. And in an earlier chapter, or in the selfishness chapter, Baba was talking about the drunkard who wants the wine, or the money person that wants the money, or the person that's lusting, as those kind of desires. But I think in anything where I'm limiting what I think I would want, would limit creativity, unhindered creativity. And I think about the world right now, I guess the world always, but in this present moment, the creativity needed to move forward. And that if we get stuck in our lower self wants, like those genius ideas, whether it's coming from a vaccine company or in any kind of movement, would be hampered.
I think that as humans, we're always going to have desires, but I think we want them to shift to be preferences, just preferences. I can't imagine us not having preferences, but that's different from being attached. And we want to let go of the attachments, and we have to have this or have to have that. Anything other than Baba.
And I asked myself the question then, in the instances in the recent past, like in the last week, that I have felt suffering, sad, grief, confusion, whatever it might have been, what was I then stuck? Was my creativity stuck? And I really do remember thinking that the focus on what wasn't the way I wanted it made me feel like I couldn't move forward in any other way, whether it was to make a meal or clean out a cabinet or launch a program, whatever it might have been, that what I want sapping my ability to move forward in it. And so that was a bar I used. Like if I was not able to be creative with and be inspired by what I wanted to do, might be the cost of that. So if we feel stuck in our creativity, I don't know what anyone else thinks about that, but that came to me today.
Katie.
Hi. I just couldn't get in for some reason. It was so weird. I couldn't find the link or.
Yeah, you weren't alone, Katie.
It wasn't in the thing, and then you had to go to the regular link. So I've been having fun fielding text and
I was gonna
doing
say,
this during that time too.
I kind of wasn't sure if I should text you or not, because I knew you would be leading this at the same time, and it's not so easy.
Well, for future reference, so you all know, any link that's on the schedule will bring you to the Circle of Friends Zoom room. It's always the same link. So even if you
That's
click
good to
on
know.
RT, or if you click on drawing with the Baba, whatever, it's still going to bring you right here.
That's,
Do you mean for the
really
same,
helpful.
do you mean for the same day or for any day? Do you
Any day until the
No.
password changes.
Oh, okay.
That was my problem with the passcode, because the number passcode did not work. And then Cindy told me to use Mara as the passcode instead, and then I got in.
Yeah,
So
I
it was a
think,
little confusing.
yeah, I'm going to let one of the admins know that that's what's happening. The passcode did not work today for me either.
Yeah.
And I've never tried the passcode number. And I
Mhm.
did today because I was in the car and just wanted to dial in, but it didn't
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's so interesting, like even this conversation, because it's reminding me of this creativity. Like I've been thinking about this a lot this week. I don't know why, but I had this image like earlier this week. Baba gave me this image of like thumbprints, and I've been thinking about like how things kind of like go awry sometimes when we side, like when we like we don't use our uniqueness to like be fully ourselves in that creativity, and how like each individual thumbprint so unique. He was like, but this is so uniquely yours, and but it's like when we have like our opinions or like those desires, and then what happens is then we side with like other people, and then we're like, oh, you have that like thing too, but actually nobody really has the same thing because everybody's so uniquely different and feels different, but somehow we like overlook that, and then we clump it all together, and it's like then we start to side with it, or mount up the energy or force to like want to overcome it, instead of using our creativity to just allow ourselves to be what we are, and then look for something like uniquely inspiring or different that's going to help us move forward. Because I've been thinking about creativity, and someone actually posted this amazing thing today about I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said it about creativity. It was like what, like to have what's needed to be able to move forward in humanity. And I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting to sit and think about that concept of like bringing our unique selves to the table, and like the infinite possibilities of creativity with each person. That's like enormous potential, like it's infinite. So it's really inspiring when you think of it that way, versus like getting stuck in like our limited ideas in groups or something.
Or like Cindy was saying, that attachments can weigh us down and hamper our creativity. But if we can free ourselves of the lower desires, then we can use our body to soar, to be creative, and like well, I don't know how creative a horse is, but as if our body could be like a ballerina, just infinitely creative if we can open to the desires of our higher self.
It reminds me a little bit of I got to attend the young adult Sahavas this past weekend, which was such a joy. And what was so amazing to me to like during the RTs and also during the celebration on Saturday rather, when people were invited to sing or perform in some sort of way, and the talent was incredible, of people singing and instrumental and all kinds of different things, poetry, theatrical readings, all these things. And I was thinking, well, I don't think it's that the Baba community is like unique in that there's like more talent. But what I think it is that there's so much encouragement and support for every person, no matter, even if you're not really that good, like you're kind of a little rusty or shaky or whatever. But when you have the encouragement of love, how much you blossom, and and it's incredible. And then you really do see the unique, like Inga was saying, like the different thumbprint of how, like, we all, like, somebody did a theatrical reading using about and it was like the explanation, some kind of like spiritual evolution that he was describing in his theater piece, and he used cleaning products, the names of cleaning products, to describe the evolution of the spirit. And it was amazing. It was so creative, one of the most creative things I've seen. And
Okay, so what's the ultimate cleaning product, Katie?
kaboom.
What? The broom?
There was also Fabuloso, kaboom. He used a ton of them, and he actually had a slideshow of the cleaning products and showed the names.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
But anyway, so just that's what was coming up for me as we were talking about this.
The example, one of the examples Baba uses in the beginning of the life of the spirit is, just as a musical instrument is valuable only if it gives expression to the song of a musician, and it becomes a hindrance if it does not yield complete subservience, matter is valuable if it gives free and adequate expression to the creative flow of life and becomes an obstacle if it interferes with it. It makes me think that Baba really wants us to play here with the same creative force that he has. And when we will have desires, it's the entanglements or the attachments to them. When they determine our happiness or unhappiness, we'll always have our proclivities, I guess. But how much play, to be able to play with the same force, the creative life force of the infinite, of the spirit.
It is very,
that feels like
it is very attractive when you see people who have that kind of life force energy, you know, that are playful with whatever they do. It's very attractive and appealing and enlivening.
I think it's the divine within us that resonates with that when we see it in others, and then we want more of that, because that resonates with the divine within us. We know that's our birthright. We all want that.
Mani comes to mind. She was such an example of joyful playfulness and creativity, and you know.
Oh, I just got a rush of her right now, like feeling Mani with us, encouraging us to play, to sing, to play with children, to play like children.
And even just smile. I mean, her smile was so magnetic. I mean, and I'm feeling some of that tonight, you know, as I take in your smiles. It's just very magnetic. It's contagious.
My sister and I have watched all of Schitt's Creek, the series Schitt's Creek. And now we're watching all of New Girl, both comedies. And I want to tell you the divine genius in the comedies, and we're in New Girl right now, and the physical comedy is so hilarious. It's just the most joyful thing. We're saying we're having a Schitt's Creek Christmas, pretending that we're in the New Girl loft. Like we have four new roommates now, Schmidt and Winston and Jess and Nick, but it's gonna be a Schitt's Creek Christmas. So we got this tiny little tree from that. And I think of that, like how much we value creativity in movies and TV shows and just going for it. And when people go with their bodies too, in new ways. And I personally would like to release that. When Baba talks about the body becomes the release, the vehicle for the release of divine life. I think about that, the release of divine life, like Baba playing in Portofino, Baba doing all the things that Baba did and his mandali, and on the ship, and wearing different hats and dressing up as Krishna, and all the plays that he loved having people do, and the singing.
Where he comes
I've-
down in the,
Angela,
I think he
Go ahead.
comes down to his playground, you know, every 700 or so years. And he just wants to play.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we wear him down with our dramas and scary clothes.
think of like that song by John Mayer, "Your Body is a Wonderland," and our body is a playland now, without having claims in its own right, but to serve divine life and divinity, making us more human. And I think that, you know, like the precious flower, the most glorious creation. Look at, like, if you had an artist, if you were an artist and you made a masterpiece, you would be like, oh my goodness. I always think that that's what Baba thinks about us. Like, oh my goodness, look at my masterpiece. No matter what happens.
That's good for us all to remember, you know, because we forget sometimes.
And I think that's where the humility can come in. Like Baba says that false modesty begets weakness, but greatness begets humility. Like when we can know we're a masterpiece because look what God made. And that when Baba works through us, we give all the fruits of the action to Baba. This forum, facilitating this forum, has been such a gift for me, because I've had almost no ability for Cindy Luhu to get involved in thinking I'm doing anything of anything I've ever done. Like, this is Baba doing it through it's all of you as Baba doing it through us together. And that's been a great gift. And I was saying that Angela has encouraged me via private chat on Arti to sing or do something. And she has a blessed way of encouraging you to do things. And so I have sung on Arti, and what a gift that's been to me, just to sing. And the only thing I could think of that first night was I was on one of my daughter Michelle's, young people do their own singing Arti sometimes on Sunday evenings, not through the Circle Center. And I sang a song, and I'll sing it for you now too. And this is what came to me. Twinkle, twinkle, avatar, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in our eyes. Twinkle, twinkle, avatar, these precious souls are what you are. I feel good about that song. I really do. Like, thank you, Baba. Like, creative flow. Like, anything can happen in any moment for the release of divine life
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
and the creativity.
Reminds me, I used to make up songs when I was driving. You know, I had many road trips schlepping between Chicago and Myrtle Beach, or Chicago and Asheville for their music sahavas. And I would come up with these songs, you know, I'll never remember them, but I would just sing to Baba, to myself. And I'm not a singer, but it was so fun to just in the car, just kind of let it flow. And I was amazed at, you know, how I could rhyme things, and where the hell did these come from? Like, I wish I had recorded them. But of course, if I had recorded them, they wouldn't come. But just you doing that little bit reminded me of that.
When Rosalie, when you would come to the cabins to deliver the calendar, and you would normally, whenever I was there, you would have a song or a poem or something to share too, which was so delightful. And one time after Amartithi, you and I went back to the barn, and you were tending to the fire, and I scooped up some ash, and a number of people on this call got some of this ash. But sometime during that trip, you wrote down something about God in me on a piece of paper, and I've kept that. And I think it's something that you wrote, like when God in you manifests. But when I think about like that kind of poetry and creativity and sharing in that moment, I think about you. And in the beginning, like when I was more contracted, like what's happening at the Baba Center, that would be a lot for me. Like my body would be kind of like shocked by people and how they would perform or sing. And I'm grateful that I think the claims of my spirit right now are for more freedom and creativity and play, and letting others be free and play in that way too. So I encourage you to just take a moment to think about like what the claims of your spirit are, and we'll go into the guided healing meditation. I'm going to play some healing music that just kind of aligns with the megahertz. Some of you know solfeggio frequencies. And so in this healing, that the claims of your spirit know how to direct your body, that your body knows how to, with such joy, yield to those claims, like that it was made to yield to the claims of our spirit, to your spirit, and to let Baba and his infinite love dissolve anything that needs to be dissolved, so that can just radiate from you individually, from us as a group, and into all of existence, being a Baba Center personified, radiating his eternal message of love divine. So I'm going to put you all on mute. So first, connect in with your breath, the breath of life, the breath of love. And just let percolate into your awareness the claims of your spirit. What are the claims of your spirit? And just let them rise. Letting this be a moment of deep intimacy between your spirit and your body. Now bring your awareness to your relationship with beloved Baba and all of the highest light forces, the heavens of the earth, and especially the energy of Mani. And call on those forces, the love of the avatar, to purify the places in your body that assert themselves in ways that don't yield to your spirit. Let Baba's love and light free you from the burden of your desires. Free your inner spirit from the entanglements of the duality of this existence. Now, with this dissolution, let flow through you unhindered creativity, a creative life force, the symphony of creation pulsate through your mind, through your body, through your whole energetic field, into your life, into the world as you release the floodgates on pure divine play. The possibilities come into manifestation and inspiration for you, for us all, and for the world. And then, as your divine imaginations, let this radiate to every sentient being, to everything in existence on this planet and beyond, bringing purity, truth, beauty, and love to us all through Baba's divine grace. And then bringing your awareness back to your breath and your body. Thanking Baba and all of his highest light servers for the opportunity to receive and share. And then whenever you're ready, you can bring yourself back And then you can unmute yourself. And I'm going to stop the recording.